person.
What did you say?
I'm the most important person.
She said she's the most important person. You are absolutely correct. Don't tell Daddy that though. Um, okay. So, welcome everyone. Before we start, in the chat, please enter your name, your company, if you're in transition, if you're looking for your next opportunity. This is a way to kind of connect with other folks who are on the call in this global community that we have. We have people usually calling in from Asia, Africa, the US, etc. Feel free to also add your LinkedIn profile if you want to grow your community on LinkedIn. For those who are watching this on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, live stream, we want you in the conversation as well. So tell us where you're coming from in the chats, in the comments, and if you have the time, subscribe, like the comments so that the algorithms will push this out and we can help more people. The focus on today's, while I'm talking to you, I'm getting like commentary from my daughter on the side. So sorry if I'm distracted. She's like, it's like the peanut gallery literally next door. The focus on this Let's Talk call is how you can use humor as a superpower to advance your career and also connect with others. And we have Kathy Klotz-Guest as our guest today. For those who are in the live Zoom audience, if you can, if you're comfortable, please turn on your video because I know as a speaker, it helps me seeing your beautiful faces and your reactions, etc. And we want you a part of this conversation as well. So make sure if you have insights or something that you want to comment about, let us know in the chat or the comment. And the same thing with the people who are on the live stream. So quick activity for the for the folks who are in the live Zoom audience, top right hand, put this on gallery mode. So you should probably see all of us here. Okay. And we always start with kind of like a quiz. And if the answer is yes, I want you to put both hands like this. And if you don't have an answer, just leave your hands down. And if you're on the live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, you can just write yes or use the raise your hand emoticon. So first question, have you ever been told that you're too serious? Okay, next question. How many feel uncomfortable telling jokes? How many of you were the class clown growing up? I could see Kathy raising her hand right now. How many of you feel like laughter is the best medicine? How many of you use humor to connect with people? How many of you laugh daily? How many of you want to laugh more? How many of you feel it's important to work in an environment where laughter is encouraged and awesome. For the next part, top right hand side, put this on speaker mode so you should just see me. And give me a second while I mute all. Okay. Hi, everyone. So we'll be starting in a second. Thank you so much for your answers. It's kind of always interesting to kind of see, like I saw some hands raised and I was like, total class clown, or, I could tell that they're kind of afraid to tell jokes or whatnot. So today's Let's Talk is on how you can use humor as your superpower to advance your career and connect with others. And we have Kathy Klotz-Guest as our guest today. So last year, Kathy spoke on the power of laughter and humor and how it can help us own our own truth. And it was so popular that we wanted to bring her back. There's so much power in being able to make someone laugh. With laughter comes connection. There's this shared moment where you can kind of see people and you're like, okay, you get it, right? We have this common history, this common understanding. That's why I usually start my training or speeches with an opportunity for a shared laughter. That shared laughter is an opportunity to connect with the audience. So sometimes I'm sharing a joke, but most of the time it's a meme or an observation. I don't know how many of you guys saw this, but I posted like a promotion, like on LinkedIn, I posted something and I want to share with you because I just think it was kind of funny. Will Ferrell is one of my favorite comedians. But I posted this. Before you marry a person, you should first make them use a computer with slow internet to see who they really are. I mean, what I love about that is it's this kind of insight where we all are kind of in that joke. And in that moment when a joke is said and we're kind of collectively laughing, there's like this connection. I get it. You get it, right? So humor is a superpower in business. A Robert Half survey found that 91% of executives believe that a sense of humor is essential to career advancement, while 84% felt that people with a good sense of humor do a better job. Another study by Bell Leadership Institute found that the two most desirable traits in leaders were a strong work ethic and a good sense of humor. When I first heard these stats, I was like, my mind was blown. 91% says it's essential for career advancement. 84% say that people do a better job because they have humor or they're funny. But then I started thinking, who gets to be funny at work? So one of the stats that I shared last year when Kathy was here was that when I was a GM of See Her, which is a gender equality initiative for the advertising industry, Unilever did this worldwide study and showed that in advertising, women were shown with leadership roles only 3% of the time. In advertising, they were shown as intelligent only 2% of the time. And in advertising, women were shown as being funny only 1% of the time. So let that sink in, right? I then thought about what the nuances about using humor is, in the corporate world when you're a woman of color or when you're a person of color. And then it gave me a pause. If you need kind of humor to kind of advance in your career, but you're not shown as being humorous, or if you're not allowed to be humorous, what does that do for advancement in the workforce, right? So I think the reason why humor is important though, kind of stepping back from that thought, is that what makes humor so powerful is it's an ability to really connect with people, right? In the corporate setting, humor can relieve tension. It builds trust, it boosts morale, and it helps people really connect with each other. And laughter is also a strong medicine, right? People say that laughter helps with their physical and emotional health, relieves stress. It, strengthens your immune system, diminishes pain, protects you from the damaging effects of stress. So with so many power to heal and renew, the ability to laugh is really, really a superpower if you're able to tap into it, right? And last note, because of course my daughter is here. As children, we often laugh hundreds of times a day. For any of you guys who have kids, you know this, right? My daughter has a joke book and she's always, telling me jokes, right? And laughter is such an important part of her days. And when she's spending time with friends, it's all about laughter. But as adults, we tend to get a little bit more serious and our laughter becomes a little bit more infrequent. But by seeking more opportunities to laugh and have humor, you can really improve your health, strengthen your relationships, and find greater happiness. And hopefully add more years to your life. So before I introduce Kathy, in the chat right now, or if you're watching on the live stream, put it in the comments. I want you to type in the answer to this question, but don't press send till I tell you. Why is humor important in the workplace? I'm going to be very specific. Why is it important in the workplace? Or you can just answer, why is it important for you? Type it in in the comments, and I am going to press send. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press send. Helps with overall mood, works with stress, builds connection between coworkers, less stressful. I love that. It calms you. It's disarming and creates connection. It's fun. So I think there's an agreement that it's important that we have humor, not just at home, but in the workforce as well. So I'm so excited to introduce Kathy. Let me spotlight her right now. I can find, oh, hello. Hi, Kathy. So round of, or, roll call for Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Kathy Klotz-Guest helps leaders and teams step up, speak up, and playfully and powerfully through stand-up. She's a keynote speaker, an author, storyteller, creative strategist, and improv comedian. She helps transform leaders and teams into fully human communicators, storytellers, and creators. And she does this effectively through improv and comedy principles. She left her high-profile executive position as the vice president of marketing communications for a tech firm in 2010 and hasn't looked back. She started Keeping It Human to bring humanity into business. She has helped marketing, brand, HR, sales, tech teams be more influential communicators through the power of humor. She's also the author of Stop Boring Me. Pick it up, at Amazon or the local bookstore if you get a chance. And it's about how to create kick-ass marketing content, stories, products, and ideas through the power of improv. So welcome, Kathy. Thank you so much for being here, being back here. It's been almost like exactly a year since you were last here.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I always love talking to you and your community. I love the conversations that you frame. I love how you frame it. And I just love coming and having fun. So I love it. Such big issues that sometimes we don't have time to go into depth on, but we should. And so I love that.
Exactly. Well, the last time you were here, first we had a blast.
Yeah.
Everyone who joined, but also everyone was like, we need to keep on digging deeper in terms of some of the topic, because I think we kind of went surface level, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's, let me kind of frame it with this first question. I kind of asked the audience, but I want to hear from you. Why is humor important? Why should we care?
I think it really comes down to this. Humor is so critical to your well-being as a human. It's so essential. And that laughter cliff that you talked about, research is very clear. As adults, we become so serious. We adults so hard and we get so good at it that we forget to do things for our own joy. And the role of humor and laughter in our own well-being is foundational. So I think it starts there. And I think it really does start there because, Lan, if we want to connect with other people, I think we have to connect with ourselves. And I'm not sure we're having fun and expressing our own joy and playfulness enough for ourselves, let alone to connect with other people.
I love that. It's funny that you kind of mentioned that too, because so for Community 7, I just relaunched our YouTube channel. And before that, I hadn't put any attention to it.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I did was I was playing with my daughter, Morgan, and she is probably one of the most hilarious children you'll ever meet. But we started recording these YouTube short videos, but we were just having fun. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually fun. And so I was like, well, what if I did this for my company, right? Because all of my posts before that was on LinkedIn. But there's so much power in just kind of like being creative and having fun that kind of unlocks other kind of like things for work, if that makes sense,
You hit it. You hit it and said it so well. Look, we get scared sometimes of humor because we think, oh God, I can't tell jokes or it's not that. Humor is the relaxed you that shows up that people go, I love being around that person. That's the you we want. That's the you we need at work. And
Yeah.
when we're playful and we're having fun and we're not forcing it, Lana and I are just having a casual conversation and I adore talking to her. And it's not hard. Think of that version of you that's just in flow and having fun and being playful. That is what we're talking about. And we can actually do more of that all day long without the pressure of trying to perform. It's not performing. It's just allowing ourselves and giving ourselves space and permission to be that person. And then also giving other people space to play with us.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's such a connection between play and humor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's just the ability to kind of laugh and have joy.
Yeah.
And I work with executives, every day. And one of the first questions I always ask when I start working with someone is, what brings you joy? And
Mm-hmm.
there's always this long pause. They're, successful CEOs, presidents of Fortune 100 companies. And when I ask them what brings you happiness, it's dead silence because they haven't thought of that, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with joy and happiness and laughter.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be intentional about it. You kind of have to look for it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
and
think you're right.
and so this is kind of for us funny challenged people who are a little bit too serious.
Yeah.
How do you get funny? Like, like, because some of you are born, like, like, because I was looking at the people who were raising their hand when I was asking that question earlier.
Right.
Like, some
Right.
people were born in the room. My daughter was born funny, like, since she
Mm-hmm.
was a baby, right?
Yeah.
And she makes people laugh wherever she goes. Like,
Love it.
I was the kid who in elementary school was reading books at parties or just, like, I was just always so serious. How do you get funny?
So I distinguish between humorous and funny,
Yeah.
but I'll answer your question first, and then we'll distinguish because I think that's a big hill, and I don't believe in putting pressure on people, but we can become funnier um, by getting out of our own way. I think we overthink things. The more that moment where we're all overthinking and we're like in our heads, but our overthinking is having overthinking babies, and it's just like this one loop. And like there's like a guinea pig on a track, and it's like we're just like, how do I get out of this overthinking? And I think that's kind of what happens with funny. But I think the way that we get funny is we give ourselves space and grace to try things. If it doesn't work, we go, okay, no big deal. We get up and we do it again. And we don't get hung up over if it didn't work, because so much of being funny on stage is really experimentation and not being afraid to be silly or fail. And it's okay. And forgiving yourself and having a positive attitude around experimentation and not trying so hard. I think what funny is to me, and I also do stand up as well, is that when I'm on a stage, with really connecting and in flow with an audience, is because I'm telling stories about my life and they're true and they're silly and I'm heightening and it's funny and we're just having fun and it's like, oh my gosh, you said that, and we're just such a state of flow of connection that I'm out of my own head. And I think what gets us sometimes is the pressure to be funny. And if you're feeling pressure to be funny, I hear you, it happens. Get out of your own way and say, when am I having fun the most? Because if I'm having fun, that's that version of me that people will absolutely connect with. So you get funny by trial and error and just working that muscle, land. It's a muscle. It's a
Yeah.
courage muscle. It's a courage muscle.
You dropped so many nuggets in that short period of time. I mean, seriously, like I had several aha moments right there.
Yeah.
For example, the as an introvert, right? I'm the
Mm.
reverse. Like the spontaneity, improv is all about being in the present moment.
Yeah.
And I am the type of person who, for an hour meeting, will take 2 hours to prep for that 2 hour meeting. Before a call, I will prep. There's no spontaneity, right?
Yes.
Because, and it's almost tied back to the seriousness of
Yeah.
the other side of the spectrum, which is perfectionism, right?
Yes.
Not giving yourself the room to make mistakes. And what I love about people who use humor in their day-to-day life, they're so like witty.
Yeah.
They're able to kind of be present, read the room, make that connection. The quote from Will Ferrell, right, about before you marry a person, make sure you have them use a computer with a slow internet
He's
connection
right.
so they can see who they really are. That is such an amazing insight,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's those whole notion of being in the present moment is
Yeah.
almost like being in flow, right? And so when you are in joy, when you focus on the joy, the best
Yes.
part of yourself, and you're not worried about what other people who are thinking, whoever's on this call right now, I wonder if they're going to think that my hair's messy or whatnot. And you just
Yeah.
kind of let that go and you're just in that moment, you're able to really connect, right?
Yes. Yes. Connection is letting go of judgment. And I think we judge ourselves, we're judging ourselves all day long, which is why we don't laugh as much, because that censor, that inner judge is like, we all have an inner critic. Don't worry. You're not alone. We all have one. And I think that when that inner critic is really operating full force, it diminishes our light. And I think you said something so important, Lan, and I think you're right. It's if we can stop judging ourselves and just be playful, we're able to come up with these witticisms, and we're able to just play in the moment because we're not judging. And there's no voice, we're not listening to the voice inside of us going, well, how would that sound if I said it? I wonder what they'll think about it. Like, all the things, the million reasons we can find not to say something, when really what we should be doing is looking for the one reason to be playful, and that is to connect. And when we are revelatory and when we are being ourselves and we are embracing, and leadership is self-awareness, humor is self-awareness. When somebody says, she knows who she is and she's comfortable in her own skin, isn't that great? That's when it gets good, because you're not trying hard to crowbar anything. Now, if I'm telling a joke and I'm doing a keynote, I've practiced that joke. I've practiced it. But no matter how many times I practice a joke, my best moments are always improvised. It's when I go off script and in the moment, I'm just talking to the audience and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Oh my, that's interesting. And I'm just commenting and playing with the audience. That's typically because I am in that moment of pure, no judgment, pure spontaneity. And when you are in a place of pure joy, your inner critic doesn't have a chance. It doesn't stand a chance to pure joy. So how do we tame that inner critic? Be in that place of pure play and joy.
And
Mm-mm.
how would we as an exercise
Yeah.
be more in play and joy? Like what are some practical tips you could provide for that?
Yeah. Well, I want you to, there's a whole bunch of like improv games and things you can do. One of the things that I would recommend is if you want to be in a place of joy, start yes anding yourself. And now yes and is an exercise that we as improvisers do. And then on stages, we're yes anding ourselves. But I want you to yes and yourself every day. You catch yourself wandering, or maybe your inner critic is like operating. I want you to respond with compassion and love, not meanness, not like, embrace that you have an inner critic and just yes and yourself. Yes, and that's silly. Yes, and okay, now that would be interesting. What if I did do that? Okay, yes, and I see your point. I like to play here, so I'm going to choose to play. Okay, all right. Well, unfortunately for you, inner critic, my joy space is taking over right now, so I can't hear you above my own joy. Yes, and you can come back later, but not right now. So find a way to be playful with yourself, to reframe it. And if you do it in a fun way, because I think sometimes we feel guilty and we beat ourselves up, but that doesn't silence the inner critic. That just feeds the inner critic.
Well,
So you know what I mean? The only way
well, I
out is
think
to be playful.
I think this is so what's powerful is that the inner critic is telling us we can't. Um, what are they going to think? Yada yada yada, right? Whereas
Yeah,
that playful voice in you is, what's the worst that can happen? Go jump in the puddle, have
yeah,
fun, right? It's like it's the less
exactly.
critical part of you,
It's
right?
the less critical part, and it responds with love to the inner critic. So you're not giving in to the inner critic, but it's yes, and people won't remember. They're too busy thinking about themselves. Oh, nobody will laugh. Yes, and they will laugh. And then in 5 minutes, they'll move on to the next thing.
You,
And
you
like
know
you
what?
can
You,
always reframe it.
You know
Always.
what this reminds me of is Beyonce, and I've used this analogy before. So Beyonce, you see her and you just think she's like an amazing like performer and spectacular and all those good things. And she's an actual shy person, you know, based on her interviews. And so when she was first starting out, she created an alter ego called Sasha Fierce,
Mm-hmm.
which was her stage presence, which was, you know,
Yeah.
in real life, she was kind of shy and demure, but on stage, she became Sasha Fierce. And what's funny is that later in her career, she no longer needed to use Sasha Fierce because she became that person, that persona on stage. And I think that's the same thing with kind of play and, you know, and I hate the word fake it till you make it because I don't believe
Yeah.
it's that. I think it's really, you
Yeah.
keep on doing the actions until it becomes you. You keep on, you know,
Yes.
becoming the person that you want to be, if that makes sense.
It so is. And I think what's so fun for me is when I recognize that the universal fear runs in all of us. We're so afraid of looking foolish. But I say embrace foolishness because it doesn't make you look foolish. When you meet somebody that is so self aware and accepts who they are, it's amazingly disarming and charming. And we want to be in that orbit because we're like, whatever you got, I want. And that's because they're so comfortable with themselves. And I really think that the risk of being playful and being silly is so low. And that's where the inner critic has we have to work on that. So whether it's adopting an alter ego like Sasha Fierce, yeah, you know, whatever you have to do. And you're right, it's not faking it. What you are is saying, hey, look, I get it. I get it, inner critic. Yet you're you're going to hold me back and I'm not going to let you do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to let my playful self, because that is my higher self. My playful, fun, funny self is my higher self. And I want you to recognize that inner critic because for some of us that were told we were too serious, right? If you were told that, you bought into that. So that inner critic of that voice wasn't yours, it was planted there. So that inner critic isn't even you. Your higher self is the fun, playful, laugh 500 times a day inner child that is waiting for you to let her out or
Yeah.
him out or them out. Just they're waiting for you to say, just do it. Just do it.
I think one of the biggest life changes that helped me kind of get more into to tap into my fun or humor was having my daughter Morgan because I
Yeah.
realized that I hadn't played when I was younger. So I almost had to kind of teach myself by playing with her. And so it's these little things that, you know, in terms of joy, humor, and all this other stuff, I would take her to swim lessons. And before I would just kind of take her to swim and I would just kind of be on my iPhone or whatnot, kind of working. And then she would say, "Mommy, come swim with me," and I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not. You know, I don't want to swim." You know. And then one day I just was like, "Let me go swim," and we had so much fun. And that it's that whole process of like not the self talk, right? Like I was
Yes.
like, let me jump into the water. Let me hop into
Yeah.
the puddle. Let me, you know, play board games with you. And it really takes a lot of being in the present moment that I
Yeah.
know I need to work on because my
Yeah.
daughter is always kind of reminding me, Mom, get off your
Yes.
phone. Uh, but like when I am able to stay present and have fun and have joy, it feels just so nice and light. But it takes that conscious effort of being in that present moment.
It really does. Choose to be present. And your child just wants you. They want you and your time. That's what they want. And Kathy said, all hail the foolish. Amen, Kathy. Because we really don't look foolish. I know it's that inner critic lying to us.
Yeah.
And really, I love to say to myself, what's the worst that could happen? Or what if I tried that? Okay, what if it doesn't work? So what? So what? You know how many people are like, nice, valiant effort. Yay, you tried. I want you to celebrate that you took those risks. And nothing ever amazing happens without us being able to take the step of faith, the leap of faith. So
Mhm.
the world belongs to those who aren't afraid to look foolish, whatever that is.
And so
Yeah.
I kind of want to bring it back because we didn't dig into it deep the last
Yeah.
conversation, but like women
Yes.
And being funny, I feel like there's a double standard, especially in
Yes.
corporate. So, for us who are on this call, who are women or person of color or whatnot,
Yeah.
going into corporate, I feel like there is a double standard, but I could be wrong.
No,
But, you know,
you're right.
how do we combat that? Because,
Okay.
on the other hand, it's
Yeah.
like people are looking for, in terms of leadership, if you have humor, you have more chances to advance, more
Yes.
power to connect. But then if you don't feel comfortable
Yeah.
using humor, or if there is a double standard, then what do you do?
It is. And you're absolutely right. And if you're feeling like there is a double standard, Kathy, you're 100% right. Because women know, we feel it. We know. And if you're a person of color and a woman of color, it's even more a triple standard. We know it. And you're absolutely right. And there is research that documents this, that women pay a humor penalty. Plenty of research over the years say the same thing. Two jokes side by side, a woman can give it, she can be very funny. The expectations are different that a woman is funny and shows up and owns it, and she's comfortable with it. Now, the research also shows that women are effective at using humor because women are less likely to punch down. That means to make somebody the butt of the joke. They're less likely to do that. So women intuitively understand that. Humor is like a sports bra. We lift, but we don't separate. We put people together. We mush it all together. And women know this, and so women are inherently good at it. There is a penalty. So here's the sad reality. There is a penalty, but women are inherently good at it when they do use it. So we're going to have to summon our courage and use it because it is a skill in the workplace. It does lead to more opportunities, and people like us more. And that is an advancement. The world needs women's leadership. And leadership also includes our ability to connect with each other. And that's humor. So we need it. It is a skill, and it is not going anywhere. So here's what I say: move out of the way, people. If you have a bias against it, a lot of people have that unconscious bias, right? You know what, ladies, that is not your problem. That is the insecure person who maybe doesn't even know they have a bias. That is not your problem. So don't hold back because you're worried about somebody else's bias. The way that we change it is, ladies, we show up and show what we can do. We own our humor, and we lift people up, what we call affiliative humor. Now, there's 4 different styles according to what's called the humor questionnaire. But one of the biggest and best ways in categories of humor is affiliative. And that means lifting people up and bringing people together. Women excel at that. So what I would say is, don't hold back because there's a penalty. Find what works for you, whatever humor style is effective for you, and use it. Not self-deprecation, ladies. Don't over-rely on self-deprecation, but use your cleverness, your wit, whatever works for you, and do more of what works, because you will be celebrated. And we need women's leadership and their humor and their vantage point in the workplace to change the workplace. So the answer isn't to hold back because there's a penalty. The answer is to put the pedal to the metal and say, don't like it, get out of the way, because we coming.
And I don't know if you remember this, but the last time you were here, Kathy, you had given really good advice. I don't know if you remember, but you said, especially to women, if you are joking and it's self-deprecating, make sure it's not about your profession or what you do.
Yes.
So you can make fun of your cooking, you can make fun of the fact that you're a bad driver. Unless you are a taxi driver, don't make fun that you're, unless
That's
it's
right.
part of your profession. So, I thought that was a really good observation or a good
Absolutely,
tip.
100%. 100%. You can make fun of, if you're a leader, you have a little bit more wiggle room. So ladies, if you're leading teams, they want to see you be approachable and accessible, and humor bonds you to your team. So it's okay once in a while to be self-deprecating. But what Lana's referring to, and 100% right, we did talk about it. Find a way to laugh at a mistake without making yourself the butt of the joke. So aim that humor sort of weapon at anything silly, but not your business acumen. If you don't make fun of your managerial skills, if you're a woman, don't do it. But you can make fun of your cooking skills if you're not a professional chef. Great. Nobody's being harmed. So find a way to make light of something and connect with people. It's okay. But please do not don't serve yourself up as the butt of the joke, because too often men misconstrue that and they'll be like, oh, she lacks confidence. And that's not what the research shows. Most often women have tons of confidence because it takes confidence to joke like that. But because men mostly don't rely on self-deprecation, they will misconstrue it as a lack of confidence. So we don't want that. And women, I think we're more clever than that. Our humor is much more uplifting than that. So a little bit of self-deprecation is okay, but just find a way to not, use your professional acumen as that butt of the joke.
Yeah. I love that. Reading some of the comments. Kathy, when it comes to housekeeping, I'll let the dust bunnies multiply by like rabbits before I'll miss this group.
Exactly. Priorities.
And Sharon King has a really great, or not an example of bias. Yeah. Another woman that she's worked with before said that women aren't funny. And so personal bias is, something that that's not in her control, but those people are missing out. You can't
be responsible for somebody else's head trash. You are only responsible.
I love that. Wait, I gotta write this down.
Head trash. Yes. And you know what? You are a badass cerebral landlord, and you're going to take that trash to the curb.
The rent is too high.
Rent is too high. You cannot afford me. You need to go. So take that trash out. You are not, Sharon. You are absolutely right. You're not responsible for the bias. But I've heard this a lot from women. And we all know why. We're a lot of women here and some wonderful men. Look, it's because of internalized misogyny. We have internalized, women have been told so many times in their life, probably that they weren't funny, that they internalized that. And that is not true. That is absolutely not true. Women do need to lift each other up like a great sports bra. We need to right? We need to do that. We need to lift each other up. And whatever head trash she's got, she, shouldn't be put on you. When very, very few times people have said that to me, because they usually go, okay, she's funny, I'll back off. They know better than to say that to me. But when they have in the past, I've just said, look, that sounds like somebody's voice was put in there. That's internalized misogyny. You do know that, right? And usually that ends the conversation.
Mic drop. So kind of in lines with what we were kind of speaking about earlier. And I'll also tell us more about the new book that you're writing right now. How can we, the folks who are on this call, use humor to lead better?
Yes. I want you to show up every day and be intentional about the way that you show up. So much of humor is presence and self-awareness about how you come across. And we like people that are warm. I don't know if you've ever seen studies land on warmth versus competence. And competence is sort of like a checkbox. If you're competent, okay, it's binary, yes or no, this person's competent. But what really makes a difference in the way people connect with a person is warmth. And humor is a warmth skill. So I want you to show up every day. And I don't want, again, we're not talking about faking it till you make it. Be yourself. If puns is your thing, great. If storytelling is your thing, make time for that with the people in your group. Whatever brings out your best humor, I want you to support yourself with that. Don't judge yourself. But I also want you to support and show up and be a safe space for other people around you to play with their humor too. So how are you showing up and being the kind of person that is safe for other people to show up and do that? But I want you to be intentional every day. How can I create a laugh in my presentations? If I'm leading a team meeting, how can I, at the very beginning, like Lan did, she led us in an exercise where people could laugh. Let's laugh and connect. Make time for the laughter and the connection first before you, at the top of any team meeting. Don't over-prepare. I know as women, we love to over-prepare. We want to be so ready because the standards are different for us. But I want you, what if you prepared less and spent more time on how you're going to connect at the top of your presentation, or if you have to prepare for something? What if we created more space around us to just be playful? And I want you to do that with intent. Every day, how can I make people around me comfortable, make them laugh, make myself laugh, and make it safe. If you can create a safe space for others, honestly, people will remember how you made it safe for them. They'll remember.
That is so powerful. Create a safe place for others.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
much talk about psychological safety and the
Yeah.
importance of psychological safety for innovation in the workforce. And but we don't really talk about how important laughter is. And it's funny. I had posted your talk last year and about the importance of play.
Yeah.
And in the comments, I was because I always read the comments. Someone said that laughter is so important. I was in a job where my manager discouraged us from laughing, and they would actually go around,
Ah,
and that person was like quit the company, of course, but it still blows my mind that there's still work cultures that discourage laughter or fun or spontaneity, and you wonder why there's no innovation in those companies.
exactly. It is a horror story. Don't walk away from those companies, everybody. Run, run. They're going to blow. They're toxic. Well, hey, listen, laughter is the single greatest barometer of organizational health. Where there is no laughter, there is no trust. Laughter is a signal of trust. So in an organization that has no laughter, there is zero trust. So what can we do to make people feel safe? Encourage laughter. And I don't mean being funny. Again, humor, just laughing can be enough. But if you create a safe space that says, we laugh here, we have fun here,
Love
but we
that.
respect each other, we have each other's backs. So we don't punch down, there's no put down humor. And if you create that kind of environment in your team, man, the psychological safety will go up. And that's when it gets interesting. So you're right. Sometimes it's not enough to say, hey, let's all laugh and have a good time. Show up every day as a leader who laughs and makes it safe for other people to do that too.
There's a great comment in the chat from Laura Glowowski. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. I see humor as part of the intangible X factor
Yeah.
and an amazing way to bond in the corporate setting. I had a Zoom meeting with an accounting manager who had a huge Kramer from Seinfeld painting behind him, and we bonded immediately. So it's just so funny how those like kind of little nuances, right?
Yeah.
And what it is, and I think you mentioned it, you know, in your talks, is that really what humor is it reminds us of our humanness. And I recently had Janelle Peters, who's a psychotherapist for the Toronto Raptors, come and talk about burnout.
Oh,
And the reason her belief is that the reason why we're burnt out is we forget to be human.
yes.
And
Yes.
laughter is a reminder that we're human.
Oh, absolutely. The sky's
Mic drop.
burning. Mic drop, mic drop. It is exactly what that is. Why are we so afraid of something that is so wired for us as human beings? Laughter. It is our birthright. We don't have to earn the right to laugh. It is our human birthright. It is our wiring. So let's make it safe. Let's own it. It's owning our common humanity. And I really, really believe at its core, humor is a celebration, not a toleration. It is a celebration of our common imperfection and humanity. So if I can laugh at mistakes that I make, and I can laugh at, man, that was crazy. Like, did you see what happened? Hey, did your kids do this over the weekend? Oh my God. Like I don't have to pay for a vacation. My kids ignore me at home. If I wanted to be ignored, I could just save money and stay home. Like, think of all the things that happen to us as parents, as coworkers, as human beings. The humor in all of those commonalities, that common human situation, there's so much material for laughter there. So make it a place, if you're a leader, if you make it a place to celebrate that imperfection with no judgment, that's when trust is built. And that's when psychological safety is built. And that's when all the other things that we want, innovation, all those other things start to happen. So think about, how do I make it safe to own my mistakes, be human, and celebrate our common humanity?
That is so powerful. That is,
Yeah.
we have a comment. Let me read this if I can find that. Oh, I lost that. And this comment is from, oh, so I have a question, and it's anonymous. At the C-suite level, there is a
Mm.
fine line between being perceived as humorous, one who's never serious, I guess, and being perceived as a competent female leader who's on the job in a male-dominated field.
Mhm.
How do you balance that perception? So we have a question, first question in the chat.
Okay. And I understand this problem very well because I was in tech for 16 years and I was often the only woman in a room. And yes, I was funnier than the men. That's just facts. And so I understand and I appreciate that because the bar is different for us. So here's the thing. Um, don't be afraid to show warmth. Remember warmth versus competence. What people connect with us on is our approachability and our accessibility and being emotionally accessible. So here's the thing. Again, there is that penalty. There is that little bit of double standard. We know it. It sucks. We didn't create it. I want you to show up and focus on your best when you're at your best. The humor that is witty, that is warm, that is you at your best. I'm not saying go out there and grab the mic and hold it and try to do stand-up comedy every meeting, but show up and let people know you are emotionally accessible. Because I know how it goes. Here's the double standard. It's, well, you know what? You're too serious. You're too serious. You need to lighten up. Then the woman comes in and she lightens up. Well, you're not serious enough. You're not serious enough. What is going on here? Right? Sound about right, ladies? So here's the thing. Just balance out showing up as the real you. Allow yourself some warmth. I get the fine line, but you're actually hurting yourself. Research is really clear, and I believe this to be true from my experience. You are hurting yourself by not showing up with a sense of humor, because a sense of humor makes a leader likable, more trusted, and that was regardless of gender. Even if we factor in for the gender penalty, people trust somebody they can share a laugh with. So if you're somebody that can share an easy laugh in that boardroom, you just cut the distance in trust. The shortest distance between two people to build trust is a laugh.
I just had an observation while you were talking, and I was like, I always say that I'm the queen of really corny dad jokes. And if you think
That's
about it,
okay.
there's no mom jokes. Like, like even when it comes to like those nuances of there's no moms aren't supposed to be funny. It's always dad jokes, right? And it's just so funny how pervasive it is in our language.
Do you know what a mom joke is?
I've never heard of a mom joke. Is there a mom joke? Do people?
Yeah, it's a dad joke, only funnier.
But
Yeah, no, it's true. No, you're absolutely right. And sometimes I would go into, I'll go into meetings and I'll just do my mom versions of jokes, or I'll just do the dad jokes, but I'll do them funnier. And I think there's so many ways to connect with your colleagues, and however you do it, it's honest for you. But I just don't want to see any woman hold back out of fear, because the research is so clear that we not only need your humor, you need it for your career and for your connection to put people at ease. And so when all else fails, I think that likability, that warmth and that likability is really critical, and humor does that for you.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. And I think coming from an introvert that used to be very serious, I started to kind of get more comfortable with using humor
Yeah.
in at work as I got older because you become a little bit more confident in who you are.
Mm.
And sometimes it's not about being funny or telling jokes. It's
Yeah,
just about observing the connection between us all. And I
exactly.
remember, I was postpartum, had Morgan like 8 years ago, and literally, I was hanging out with the client. I think she was with Mercedes Benz, the corporate. She was a corporate marketer, and it was really kind of tense at first. And then I just started talking about giving birth, and I was saying how I've been wearing my maternity jeans for the past 2 months, or no, 2 years, and this is after I had already given birth, because they're so comfortable. They're like sweatpants. And we started laughing about, maternity jeans and how I've been wearing them for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
After giving birth. But it's
Yeah.
that those connections about finding the humanness between us. It doesn't have
Totally.
to be about telling a joke or, you know,
Nope.
it can
No.
just be about that finding that connection that we have together. Yeah.
It can
Sharon
be.
says truth and comedy, right?
Exactly. It's truth and comedy. It's just like the book. And there is a book called Truth and Comedy because comedy is the truth. You're absolutely right. Humor doesn't have to be jokes, stories. It can be puns. It can be you showing up and making an observation. I was in a board meeting years ago, and I don't know, somebody said something, and the guy next to me, I thought it was like soda or whatever, and he did the spit take, and the spit take flew on me. And everyone was like, "Hey, what were you drinking, Jerry?" And I went, "Oh, definitely root beer. Root beer. The answer, everybody, is root beer." And I just said that and everybody lost it. And so sometimes it's really the ability, as Lan is saying, to be present, to be able to react in a funny way to whatever is going on. So do not think you have to be super clever, which I think most everybody here, I know you are. Do not think you have to be the funniest person in the room. You just have to be willing to say the thing that everybody's thinking. Just
That is
be
perfect. Say the thing that everyone is thinking.
say it and say it with say it in just a fun way. So if you say it in a fun laughing way, everybody will just laugh because it is truth and comedy is having the courage to say the truth that people are thinking.
I love
Right.
that. I remember when I first did my first live keynote, or I think I was moderating an event for this ASU GSV big conference with all these serious academics and
Yeah.
like politicians and stuff. And I was, I introduced myself and I was like, I made this observation. I was just like, it feels really weird because I've only had to dress the top part of me and not the lower part of me. And that now that it's a real event, it's like, it feels very strange,
Yes. And if you just call out the weirdness in the room, it really does work. I mean,
Yeah.
And even during tough conversations, leaders have to, sometimes as leaders, we have to have really hard conversations. But I remember having to have a really hard conversation with somebody, a few years ago, on a board kind of thing. And neither one of us wanted to be there. And I had to just, acknowledge the truth in the room. I was like, "Hey, before we get started, can I get you anything? Some coffee, some tea, a head start for the exits?" I will run. I will chase you out. It's okay. I will follow you. I know neither one of us wants to be here. And, we started with a really good laugh because sometimes you have to have it was a hard budget meeting about priorities and we were not on the same page. And sometimes just acknowledging that these are hard. And I know it's hard and I'm feeling it too. Just saying the truth lets the other person know that, okay, they feel it too. We're all on the same page here.
It's that connection and that humanness.
Yes.
I think we might have time for one question. Does
Yes.
anyone in the live Zoom audience want to ask a question or anything? You could either tell me in the chat or you can even just unmute and ask yourself. And if there's not a question, I can ask my final question too. Anyone? Anyone want to unmute and ask your question? If not, the question I have for you is, Kathy, how can we find more humor in our daily lives?
Oh, that is a big, beautiful question. Yes, look all around you, folks. Humor is all around us. It's really in the framing. It's really just in how we choose to see it. So here's an exercise. Here's a fun exercise that'll work your humor muscle, everybody. The next time you get frustrated, you'll notice that the things that frustrate you and make you angry not only make for great stories, but they're humor prompts. They will. So bear with me. Here's a thing that frustrates me, and I know I'm not alone. It always astonishes me that when we're in line, for example, I'm in line at a restaurant, the Panda Express, and 10 minutes, 50 minutes later, we get up there, the couple in front of us still doesn't know what they want. So then I laugh and I turn to my husband and I go, "Can you imagine that's people's relationship? Their whole marriage is that it's I'm interested in the number 7, but does the number 7 come with a side and also a 7-year itch? Or honey, do you want the death do us part package? Does that come with fries? I don't. Oh, okay, wait. Does that one come with the You'll do all the chores. Like, do you imagine that that's the conversation? So here's what I want you to do. Take something that frustrates you, and start to see the humor in it. Like, could you put that weird thing that drives you nuts in an everyday conversation or in an everyday context? Or what if, why do we know more about cars than we do about the people that we date? Why is that? Why is that? Shouldn't there be a Carfax for people? Like involved in a bunch of hit and run emotional relationships? Oh my God, no, don't look under the trunk. I mean, shouldn't there be that? So start to play with whatever is silly. Find the human like silliness in whatever frustrates you. It's easy to find joy if you look for it in the happy moments, but I want you to train your brain to look at situations that happen. Look for the things that maybe frustrate you, irritate you, the little things, and start to reframe and find the humor, silly, imperfect in it. Because if you can find the human and imperfect in any situation that's relatable, I promise you, you can connect with anyone. Just find the human and imperfect in any situation.
I love that. And another kind of quick question before we close this up.
Yeah.
What can we learn for the folks who are on this call or watching this? What can we learn from improv?
You can learn so much from improv. Here's the lowdown. Improv is circuit training for your connection brain. You can learn to think on your feet, to be more spontaneous, to let go of being right. When you let go of fear and being right and looking good, you start to play. It can teach you to have somebody else's back in the same way that other people will have your back and make you look good. It teaches you to have somebody else's back and focus on making them look good. And it'll teach you to yes and situations, to reframe, to find the funny, to find the yes and, to not let that inner critic win. I think it strengthens your whole spontaneous, playful self. Yeah.
That mic drop.
That's it.
So
That's it.
powerful. Wait,
Yeah.
so Kathy, before we go,
Yeah.
how can we find you? How can we help?
Yeah.
Like, I know your book is coming out. Also, we should all go and buy her book on Amazon right after this. But she has another book coming up. How can we find you? How can we help?
Yeah, thank you. You can connect with me. Keepingithuman.com is my domain, keeping it human. You can reach me at LinkedIn. If you guys are interested, you do not have to sign up for my newsletter to get this. I don't do any bait and switch, but I have an article on my website. If you want, it's got 10 ways that leaders can tap into their humor.
Make sure to type it in the chat in the comments so we have that.
I'm doing it right now and let's see how Kathy can type and talk at the same time. Can she do it? No, she's not that
Make sure you buy the book Stop Boring Me. Look in Amazon or your other book retailers as well.
Yes, Stop Boring Me is out there. There's an article there, folks, I put there. If you go to keepingithuman.com, 10-humor-tips, you can sign up on the right for my newsletter if you choose, but it is ungated. You can go get this article, download 10 ways to sort of, tips for leaders, how to get in touch with your juicy humanity and your humor. So please, embrace it, especially ladies. Embrace it. You are funny. Women are funny and they're darn good at it and they're great at lifting people up. So don't let anybody tell you different. I have a name for people like that in my world, Lan. I call them family.
I love that. Let's popularize mom jokes now too and make it kind of more funnier than dad jokes.
Yes.
You guys know the deal. Put this in gallery mode so we should see everyone. I know a lot of you have your videos off. Turn on your video, turn on your mute. This is the one time where I really ask if you can turn on your videos, turn on your mute, because Kathy deserves a round of applause. Woohoo! Thank you so much for coming out, Kathy. Thank you for everyone who's joined today. We will be posting this on our Community of Seven YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. It's YouTube, Community of Seven. And we'll be posting this content maybe in a few weeks or a month, but you can also see previous content from Community of Seven. Once again, thank you so much for coming, Kathy. That was so powerful and enlightening. And yeah, I hope you guys all practice joy, happiness, and laughter each day now. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
And do you want to laugh, all of us?
Oh, do you have a joke? Do you want to
We
show?
laugh? Can we all of us laugh together?
Oh, yes. Okay,
Please.
wait.
Glenn, good to see you. You know I always laugh every day.
I love that, but I
Okay.
feel like we need someone to tell a joke. Can someone tell a joke first? I have a really corny one.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
Why did the worker get fired from the calendar factory?
I don't know.
He wasn't on time. The peanut gallery here. No, he took a day off.
Okay.
Mom joke.
Mom joke.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, we're going to laugh